We are back when the Giants and Dodgers played in New York. I'm Ralph Tyko. The host of the show is Peter V. Trunk. Nice to talk to you again, Peter.
Hi, Ralph. How are you? I'm doing fine myself.
Oh, terrific. We talked a little off air. We got a terrific program for you in the sense that this is a subject that is so very near and dear to our hearts. This is pretty much the end of Jackie Robinson week. They had a Jackie Robinson day when every player in the major leagues wore number 42. Now, I make a posting about Jackie Robinson on Facebook, on one of the baseball sites, and some guy goes, well, I don't like it when everybody wears number 42. And I said, why, pray tell? He goes, kind of stammers, if you can stammer in one of these back and forth comments. He goes, well, it trivializes Jackie Robinson. And I would just react, are you kidding me? It trivializes him. This brings honor to him. Can you imagine any other number that retired by every team in baseball, number 42? Can you imagine any other sport that would honor a player by everybody on the field wears number 42? You'd say, my God. Trivializing. What was he, if you didn't know, some sort of saint? And my answer to that, as Martin Luther King would have said, and did say, Jackie Robinson was the true father of the civil rights movement.
Exactly.
Peter Trunk is a baseball historian, but in particular, a Brooklyn Dodger historian. And we go back and forth on many things. I'm a Giant fan, but we don't go back and forth on the history of Jackie and what he went through coming up. And Jackie Robinson Week coincided with a Burns documentary on Jackie. And Peter saw it in its entirety. Peter and I both have read a myriad of books on the subject over the years. Most prominently for me, Peter Golenbach's book, Bums. I got more out of that than I did out of Boys of Summer. I thought that was, I just did for one reason. I thought it was a little mushy, and I loved it. It was a great book, but for fact, I got a lot out of Peter Golenbach's book. You and I, Peter Trunk, have had Brian Parrott on, who is the third son of Harold Parrott, who was right there through it all. Baseball executive, traveling secretary, O'Malley, and I might add, Peter, we haven't talked about this yet, from that interview, is O'Malley the biggest son of a bitch in the entire frickin' world? That's that in our life? Yeah, he did things. Got to go back. Anybody listening, go back to the interview we did with Brian Parrott. O'Malley did things along the way that had us both just, there's no response. Human beings don't do things like that. He's a scumbag. He was a scumbag.
Yes, he was.
But it brings us to my point. The point, and I'm going to let you elaborate it on, difference of opinions and a controversy over something that's very, very significant, and it involves Harold Pee Wee Reese. I'm going to let you take it, Mr. Trunk.
Okay, we all know that Pee Wee Reese was the captain of the Dodgers and the heart of the infield, and in the clubhouse he was the leader. And even though Jackie probably was the soul of the Brooklyn Dodgers, Pee Wee Reese, nonetheless, was the captain. Everybody looked up to him. And there's a story that has been circulating for many, many years, not just the last few months, but many years, that although Pee Wee was from Louisville, Kentucky, he befriended Jackie, and in one demonstrative way, everybody seems to have a different take on this story. And the story is a very simple one. It goes something like this. During infield practice in Cincinnati, when the Brooklyn Dodgers were on the field taking infield, Jackie was taking a lot of heat, a lot of racial heat from both the crowd and the Reds dugout. And Reese is said to have come over either toward the end of infield practice or in the middle of it or whatever, and actually stood next to Jackie and draped his arm around Jackie's shoulder. Now, Reese was born and raised 90 minutes away from Crosley Field in Cincinnati. Like I said, he was from Louisville, Kentucky. And he looked, and while he draped his arm around Jackie's shoulder, he looked into the Cincinnati dugout and into the stands, and supposedly they all got quiet. They all shut their mouth. They were stunned to see a Southern guy like Reese be so demonstrative to a black man like Jackie Robinson. Now, here comes the wrinkles in the story. There are many people whom I and Ralph respect greatly, who are baseball freaks like we are and of the same age as we are, that swear that never happened for more than one or two reasons. Others swear that not only did it happen, they saw it with their own two eyes and they witnessed it themselves. Others say that it happened, but it didn't happen in Cincinnati. It happened in Boston while the Dodgers were playing the Boston Braves, or at that time known as the Boston Bees. And it happened in 1948, not in 1947.
You know, you can picture it happening in Boston because Boston was a very racial town. It wasn't the South, but think back how they treated Bill Russell and what have you.
Sure.
Boston has a lot of racial overtones. So, and they did they had Jackie and Willie in tryout camps and came up, guys like Pinky Higgins and Joe Cronin came up with reasons not to sign those guys. So
they weren't good enough. Jackie Robinson and Willie Mays weren't good enough to make the 1946 or 47 Boston Red Sox. Right. Okay. Right.
And
like anybody with an IQ.
He certainly would have been beat out by Pumpsy Green by the time they brought him up in 1949. In 1959. 12 years. 12 years. Right. Yeah, they're seeing the light.
Yeah, really.
Unbelievable.
Well, among the people that claim it happened in Boston was a fellow named Duke Snider. You might remember that name. Snider, on more than one occasion.
Also went by Edwin.
Yes, Edwin Donald Snider.
Right.
On more than one occasion, told interviewers that he remembers it vividly and that it happened in 1948, not in 47, and it happened in Boston, not in Cincinnati. Another guy who agreed with him 2 times, in an interview in 52 and an interview in 1960, was Jackie himself. Jackie says it happened in 48 and it happened in Boston. It's very interesting to note that before Jackie died, he changed his story and said it happened in 47 in Cincinnati. Very interesting. Rachel Robinson, lately, and by lately I mean whenever Ken Burns did his Jackie Robinson documentary, his 4-hour documentary, and it's brand new, so the last 2 years or whatever, Rachel Robinson says, A, it never happened, and B, she begged the borough of Brooklyn not to erect that statue outside of Cyclones Park in Coney Island because she said it never happened. She is also on record, Rachel Robinson. I have to be fair here. She also is on record in other interviews as saying it happened, and it happened in Cincinnati in 1947. So as you can see, Rex Varney and a pitcher for the Dodgers, and Ralph Branca, a pitcher for the Dodgers, swear that it happened, and that it happened in 1947 in Cincinnati. Many other people say that they don't recall it happening ever, and if it did happen, he just walked over to him and stood next to him. He didn't really drape his arm around his shoulder. He didn't say anything. He just stood next to him as a backup type of thing, like he had Jackie's back. So people that have more knowledge than I do, certainly, about this alleged incident are really, really split. And there is no one real definition. Back in those days, as you well know, there was no coverage like there is today, where 100 different cameras would have caught it if it happened. People didn't have cell phones with cameras in them. No one, no one really can say 100% absolutely positively sure that it ever happened. I would probably go with Jackie himself. But there again, you run into a problem because in 1952 and 1960, those two occasions, Jackie said it happened in Boston in 1948. Before he died, I believe he died in 72. I think he died in 1972, Jackie. He went along with the so-called 1947 Cincinnati story. So, you know what? No one can honestly say 100% if it happened, and if it did happen, where it happened.
Right.
So
well,
that's
there's
the story.
Another story that.
Okay, go ahead.
There's another story that is really incredible and when you told me this, that you'd seen the documentary, it was a week after we did the interview with Brian Parrott, who told the story about Pee Wee and his dad. Now,
right.
why don't you tell the story as we heard it from Brian, and then you called me and you go, I just heard this. This is so incredible because we just
I almost fell off. I almost fell off the couch when I saw it. Well, okay, here it is. I'll keep it short and to the point. Here's the story. Brian Parrott, who is the third son of Harold Parrott. Harold Parrott worked for the Dodgers from 1939 all the way out to the coast in Los Angeles. He worked for them many, many years. He did many things for them. Mostly he was in their front office. He worked with tickets. He worked with the press release. He got them on the planes and the trains. He did it all. He did from A to Z. And he was good friends with Jackie and with Pee Wee and with all the players. And he used to be on the bench all the time during batting practice. And he would drink with the guys and eat with the guys and travel on trains with the guys and all that stuff, very close to them. And he tells the story, Harold Parrott tells the story to his son, Brian, who told Ralph and he told me on one of these podcasts, that his dad told him, Harold Parrott told him, that Pee Wee Reese told the story that his dad, Pee Wee's dad, Pee Wee Reese's father, took him, Pee Wee, as a boy, out to a place in a park in Kentucky, and showed him a tree, a certain tree. Walked right up to the tree, pointed at it, touched it, said to his son Pee-wee, Harold, this tree here is where they lynched a black man back in 19 whatever, and he told him the year, and he said, and I saw it. I was here and I saw it. And I didn't say anything. I didn't boo. I didn't hiss. I didn't scream out. I didn't yell that it was wrong. I kept my mouth shut and I watched it. And it was horrible. And I'll never forget that I didn't stand up and say anything about it. But I'm bringing you out to see this tree because that's not the kind of man I want you for you to grow up to be. I want you to be a real man and know that that's deathly wrong, what they did, and that I should have spoken up, but I didn't. And that was a very powerful story.
Well, we came away from that interview going, wow.
Yeah.
Right?
We did. We both did. We both did.
Yeah.
Two nights later, I'm watching the documentary, the latest documentary by Ken Burns on Jackie Robinson. And the story goes in his documentary that Pee-wee told the story that his father brought him out to the tree. Yes, that's all true. But he said to Reese as a very young lad, he said, this is what we do to the N's, the N-word, when they get too uppity. We hang them from a tree just like this. And this is where we used to hang him from. So it's the same story, but it's 180 degrees the opposite way. Either Pee-wee Reese's father was a good man, according to Parrott's story, or he was a horrible man, according to Burns's documentary.
And I want you to top off that story with the last conversation Pee-wee and Jackie ever had, and everybody out there can put their own spin on whatever it is you've heard. Let you guys make this. Guys, when you have to hear this to complete.
Okay. Here it is. Pee-wee Reese's son, Mark, this is the story that the final time that Pee-wee Reese spoke with Jackie Robinson was somewhere in 1972, right around the World Series, a little bit after, a little bit before. But they had a conversation, and one of the questions Pee-wee asked Jackie was, Jackie, do you think that this country is ever going to get it together and all the peoples are going to be able to live and exist in peace? And without hesitation, Jackie said, absolutely yes. And then he took a pregnant pause and he turned to Pee-wee and he said, what about you? What do you think? And Pee-wee shook his head and said, it'll never happen.
See, what I get from it is you can take the boy out of the South, but you can't take the South out of the boy.
I don't take it that way. That's interesting that you would take it that way. I take it, now, if that conversation happened in 1947, maybe I would take it that way. But it happened in 1972, and the way I took that statement was it was a sad statement from Pee-wee Reese saying it'll never happen. He didn't say it belligerently. He said it sadly. He said it like this damn country will never get it together.
See, without hearing the tone, it's impossible. That's how English, it's an incredible language, but without tone, that's why you read something in a written context can sound so much different than the spoken word.
Yes,
so,
that's why people get in so many. That's why people get so many arguments on Facebook or during emails because there's no nuance.
Right, exactly.
You can't hear the sarcasm, you can't hear the irony. Right.
The smile in someone's voice.
Right. Exactly.
And there are weaknesses. So Wow. So what a mind fuck. That's the best way I can put it. For all of us, because we don't know. And was it all to make it seem as if Jackie had a path paved for him that was easier than what really was, to indeed diminish his accomplishment? Well, look, you had Pee Wee, the captain of the team, this, that, and the other thing. Or was Pee Wee just accepting of the way things are, but, just, was it in his heart, or was, you just don't know,
No, you don't know. You don't know anything. That's why it's very interesting that you and I brought up, well, I don't want to pat ourselves on the back or anything, but it's very interesting. All of these stories with a little comma here or an ironic smirk there or a raised eyebrow here or there, they can all turn on a dime, and we don't really know. We're not going to sign off tonight, and people are going to know exactly what was in Pee Wee Reese's heart when he made that comment. We're not going to sign off tonight and know what was in Pee Wee Reese's father's heart when he made whatever comments he made at that tree. We're not going to know if Pee Wee, when we sign off tonight, we're not going to know any closer to the truth that if Pee Wee really did drape his arm around Jackie's shoulder. And if he did, we're not going to know if it was in 47 or 48. We're not going to know if it was in Cincinnati or Boston. But there's another little quirky thing. Now, you know about the statue outside of Cyclone Field in Coney Island.
You told me this off the air. Yes, I do.
When it was first erected, when the statue was first erected, the artist had depicted Jackie with a fielder's glove on. And a year later, someone asked him, don't ask me who it was, someone asked / told him, maybe didn't really ask him, instructed him, might have been a better word to use, to change that glove to a first baseman's glove, which he did.
Commissioned him, perhaps.
Commissioned him to change the glove from a fielder's glove to a first baseman's glove. That statue, after it was erected, was defaced with swastikas and other horrible things.
That's the sad part. That's craziness.
And then, right.
This
and
is
maybe
Brooklyn,
TV,
not Alabama.
and you know what? And you know what? Even though that happened in like 2005 or 2006 or whatever, flashback to Pee Wee's comment that he said it will never happen. If I had said to my wife Linda, hey, I know what we're going to do today. We're going to go over to Brooklyn and grab some lunch, but in doing so, I want to go and I want you to take my picture at the statue of Pee Wee and Jackie. And when we pulled up, if I got out of the car, this did never happen, by the way, but if this had happened and I got out of the car and there's a swastika on there and the N-word on the statue, I would have gotten back into the car and said to Linda, it's never going to happen. This country's never going to get their shit together. I would have said exactly what Pee Wee said.
Yeah. Yeah. If this is happening in Brooklyn in 2016, that's craziness. It's absolute craziness. Wow. So we left them with something tonight, Peter V.
Yep.
And I'm glad you were able, and I'm glad I had the producing sense to get somebody who can articulate as well as you do. And
thank you, Ralph.
Perspective. I'm so thrilled. Thank you. I'm going to sign off. What more can I say? We didn't.
You're very welcome, and you're very welcome, and I look forward to many more shows.
Beautiful, beautiful. I'm delighted. Thank you, Peter. I'm going to sign off just by
Okay, go ahead.
I'm going to sign off just by telling everybody to hang in there. It's a rough road. Life isn't always smooth. Ups, downs, overs, and out. Keep on keeping on. Adios, folks.